I want to ask you a question. How many people have you truly talked to in the last week? Not small talk, not, "I'm good, how are you?" Really talk to. Maybe 3 people, maybe 5, maybe no one at all. Now think about this. What if it stayed that way? What if your phone never rang? What if your inbox stayed empty? What if your birthday came and went, and nobody noticed? Most people can't even imagine living like that. But the man in today's story lived exactly like that for 10 years. And at the end of those 10 years, he built his own company, led a team of 14 people, and when he was asked, "What's the secret to your success?" his answer shocked the entire room. If you're ready, let's begin. Ethan grew up in a small town, middle-class family, ordinary school, ordinary childhood. But from a very young age, something about him felt different. While the other kids ran around during recess, shouted, fought, laughed, Ethan sat quietly in the corner, reading, thinking, watching. Teachers called it shyness. His family called it being reserved. Ethan didn't call it anything. To him, this was simply normal. Everyone had a voice inside them, and to hear that voice clearly, you needed silence. That was all. In high school, friend groups started forming. Teams, cliques, social circles. Ethan belonged to none of them. Was he bullied? Not really, but he wasn't included either. Eventually, people stopped inviting him places because he almost always said no. And Ethan noticed that. But strangely, it didn't hurt. Or maybe he had simply learned how not to feel hurt. When he started university in New York, he studied computer engineering. On the first day in the dorm, his room had 4 beds. The other 3 roommates bonded immediately. They went out together, ate together, laughed together. Ethan unpacked his computer and started coding. Hours later, when his roommates came back after midnight, he was still sitting in the same chair. One of them asked, "Why didn't you come with us?" Ethan looked up briefly, shrugged. "I was busy." And somehow, that sentence became the summary of his entire social life. University came and went. To be fair, Ethan did have acquaintances, project teammates, classmates, people he occasionally ate lunch with. But none of those relationships ever became deep. And eventually, Ethan realized something. Relationships require energy. Texting people, checking in, remembering birthdays, showing interest, managing expectations, handling disappointment. All of it takes energy. And Ethan's energy felt limited. So he made a choice. Either he could spend his energy on people, or he could spend it building something. He didn't believe he had enough for both. Maybe it was a cold calculation. Maybe it was even the wrong calculation. But it was his. And little by little, he started shrinking his social life. He skipped birthday parties, skipped graduation celebrations, lost touch with old classmates after college. Then came his first job, a small software company. At work, he was polite. He said good morning. He said thank you. But he never joined coworkers for lunch, never stayed around during conversations. Whenever someone said, "Let's grab a drink after work," he always replied, "Maybe another time." That other time never came. Every evening, he returned home alone, cooked for himself, or ordered something simple, then sat in front of his computer. From the outside, it looked sad, but from the inside, these became the most productive hours of his life, because there was no noise, no obligations, no expectations, just him, the screen, and his thoughts. And inside that silence, something was growing. Ethan launched his first app at 27. It was a productivity app, task tracking, time management, daily planning. It came from a real need, his own. He published it, then waited. First week, 12 downloads. Second week, 8 downloads. After a month, the app was practically dead. Most people would quit there. Ethan didn't. He asked himself one question. Why didn't it work? Was it the design, the marketing, the problem itself? For 3 months, he analyzed everything. Took notes, redesigned features, started over. Then came the second app. Slightly better, 200 downloads, a few reviews, still silence. Third app, fourth app. Each failure taught him something. And over time, he noticed something strange. failure no longer hurt. Why? Because nobody was watching. He never announced his projects online. Nobody asked, "How's it going?" Nobody added pressure. There was no audience. He could fail privately, learn quietly, and move on immediately. Ironically, loneliness had given him the freedom to fail. The fifth app was different. This time, Ethan built something from his own pain. He had been struggling with sleep. At night, his thoughts wouldn't stop. His mind refused to slow down. So he created a simple app. 5 minutes before bed, breathing exercises, guided audio, a place to unload thoughts before sleeping. He didn't expect much. He published it and forgot about it. 3 weeks later, a notification appeared. A user had left a review. It said, "Before finding this app, I hadn't slept properly in months. Last night was the first time I slept through the night. Thank you." Ethan read the message, then read it again and again. Did his eyes fill with tears? Maybe, but there was nobody around to see it anyway. That night, something changed inside him. Until then, building things had been abstract, a personal challenge, a private obsession. But now, he had touched someone's life, and in 10 years of loneliness, that feeling was the warmest thing he had ever found. After that, Ethan's routine didn't really change. He still worked alone, still coded late at night, still avoided most social events, but now his purpose was clear. What do I want to build? Things people truly need. In his 7th year, a company offered to buy his app. He refused. "Not yet," he said. In the 8th year, he started his own company. Small, focused, simple. When he hired his first employee, he felt something unfamiliar. Someone depended on him now. Someone expected things from him. For years, he had only answered to himself. Now there was another person involved. But then he realized something. A person who learns to be accountable to himself can also become accountable to others. Maybe even better. Because discipline no longer depended on external pressure, it had become internal. The team grew. 4 people, 8 people, 14 people. And Ethan was still the quietest person in the room, but now he was also the most listened to. Now let's return to that interview. The reporter asked him, "What's the secret to your success?" Ethan paused for a long time. Then he said, "I had no friends for many years. At first I thought that was a weakness, but eventually I realized something. Inside that silence I met myself, my fears, my strengths, the things I truly cared about. Nobody told me my ideas were good. Nobody told me not to give up. Nobody told me they believed in me. So I had to learn those things on my own. And I think that foundation became stronger because it was built from within." Now I want to say something to you. This story is not about romanticizing loneliness. Friendship is beautiful. Real connection matters. Being loved, understood, seen. Those are some of the most valuable parts of being human. But if you feel alone right now, if you feel misunderstood, if your circle is small, that does not mean your story is over. Sometimes silence is not emptiness. Sometimes silence is where you finally hear yourself clearly. And a person who truly knows themselves can build almost anything.